Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Hit the like buttons, subscribe, and join our notification group chat as well. That little QR code up there so you never miss another live show. Big breaking news in the last 24 hours to 48 hours, really, surrounding Chelsea Football Club. It has now been confirmed by the likes of Matt Law, by Simon Phillips, of huge infighting, an untenable situation, and essentially Boehly versus Eghbali, a civil war breaking out over the ownership and the direction of Chelsea Football Club. And I suppose the big question for a lot of Chelsea fans is, which side of the fence do you sit on? Which side of the argument do you come down on? Now, this morning, we want to gauge your views. You want to get your opinions. We're going to open up the lines for you to come on and have your say, because we're very, very, very interested in that side of things. But there's so much to go through. I think there's so much to break down, and there is so much to talk about in relation to this story. And we want to kind of break it down into kind of essentially bite-sized chunks. We'll put some links in the comment section and the description after the video. If you're watching the playback, they'll already be there in relation to what's being said by the media outlets, what has changed in the last few hours, and essentially looking at what the possible outcome could be and the ramifications for Chelsea as well. And I think that's a real important element. I'm going to share the link in some of our group chats actually before we go live. Before we continue here. Let me just share the link now, just for some people to join us later, because I forgot to do it before I went live, because that's what happens. When you get older, your brain starts to turn to mush, essentially. Your brain starts to turn to mush and you forget about things. So that's what happens. Big up, Becky. Good morning. Let us know, people, in the comment section where you are watching from around the world. Welcome, Becky. Welcome indeed. We've got Arthur in the house and many, many others. Anthony's here. Lots of other people joining us now. Seems like it does feel today. It's one of those days where I feel like YouTube is not sending out its notifications. I've seen that the last few days. Channels I subscribe to, I'm not getting notifications for when they go live or they put out comments. And I'd also like to know, just like this comment here, whose team are you on? Team Eghbali or Team Boehly? Genuine question for the viewers. Team Eghbali or Team Boehly? And I'd love to know why. We're going to put those comments up later on the show. Just putting this into the notification group chat as well. So if you join that group chat, you will see the link go in there now. So that way you know when we are going live and what is going on. Now, look, we're going to delve into some of the stories before we go into your comments, because I think it's worthwhile doing that. Ben Jacobs has put a big breakdown out on Give Me Sport. Very well worth reading. A man very well connected to Chelsea Football Club. And he says that Chelsea's ownership open to buying each other out. Clearlake wish to increase their 61% stake. Boehly is willing to pay over 2.5 billion and wants more control. Strategic disagreements, including over the stadium, matching and blocking rights for both parties. And a really good breakdown from him. And he goes on within his article to talk about how if Boehly does resume power, there could be another massive overhaul which could cause more instability at the club. And that is one of the areas that Chelsea are slightly concerned about right now, that Todd Boehly's overarching view of how to run the club is very different. He has become frustrated. The progression towards a new stadium hasn't happened. I don't think he's overly keen on this. Let's try and sign the majority of players 25 years and under. Let's put a small wage cap in. He thinks the club needs to buy some, you can use the word superstars, but I think it's more about, well, let's go out and try and sign an Osimhen as opposed to just more young players that might turn it round. But of course, when you've had this strategy in play, and Fabrizio has told us that actually that the manager and everybody that's working at the club right now has been told for the time being, keep operating under the current model. But if Boehly is to win, if Boehly is to get things over the line, then there could be another big overhaul. Could that mean that Maresca is not needed? Could that mean the start of a new, complete and utter rebuild? Because that's what a rebuild is. It's when the strategy of a football club changes. It's also stated here by Matt Law that Boehly believes he can quickly raise over 2.5 billion to make an offer to Clearlake that would also give Chelsea's majority shareholder a profit on their initial investment. Investors are said to be ready to back Boehly, who is believed to have a 20 to 30-year vision for Chelsea, which includes a new stadium. And I think the new stadium element is so key, because the one thing Chelsea have to do in the modern day world, the same as all football clubs, isn't exclusive to Chelsea, but there has to be a long-term vision. There has to be a plan to continue to grow revenues, and a newer, bigger stadium that can produce an extra 1, 2, 3 million pound of income per match day is absolutely imperative. It's also been put out by the Financial Times that Todd Boehly is pushing to buy out Clearlake. Clearlake are currently publicly stating they have no intention to sell. However, where I'll push back against the no intention to sell is that is what most people say at the beginning of negotiations when they're public. We have no intention of selling. We don't want to sell. I think the individuals that are going to play a huge and significant part in this potential buyout, takeover, changing of the guard at Chelsea is going to be the fans. Who do the fans side with? Who do the fan groups push towards? And I said it yesterday on the Done Deal show that went out in the morning, that I think Chelsea fans have to be very forthright, very honest, and very direct here. I've had a few Chelsea fans in our group chats that have been, this is normal. We all expected this. There's nothing to see here. This isn't news. This isn't major news. I actually saw a Chelsea fan yesterday say, this isn't major or breaking news. And I can't for the life of me understand why any Chelsea fan doesn't think that this is hugely significant for for at least the medium and the long-term future of their club. Which party takes further control, which direction your club goes in, is going to be hugely scrutinized, watched. And of course, that will shape how your club plays. It will shape the trophies that you win. To say it isn't major news, I think, is a gargantuan understatement. And Chelsea fans should be all over this like Wyss on right. I don't think Chelsea fans should be panicking. I don't think Chelsea fans should be protesting. I don't think Chelsea are in the mud. That's the problem when football analysis becomes about banter. But this is your ownership split. It's not quite split down the middle because one's the majority shareholder, but they're split in half over the right way to move forward as a football club. And when the heart of your football club, the middle of your football club has a poor foundation, and the foundation is poor if you're not all pulling in the same direction. How do I know this? Go through the history of clubs that have failed, read what went wrong, and it always stems from the board being split, the owners, if there's joint owners, not pulling in the same direction, and multiple departments of the football club not being bought into the ideas. You need everybody on the same hymn sheet and everybody pulling in the right direction. There is also a thought and process here that either one of the methodologies will work, but you just need everybody to believe in that methodology. So for me, Chelsea fans shouldn't be brushing this under the carpet. Chelsea fans shouldn't be acting. And I've had a lot of abuse in the last few days from people. You're a disgrace. I can't believe you're talking about this. It isn't news. Screw you. Why are you always crapping on Chelsea? This isn't about crapping on Chelsea in any capacity. This is major breaking news about one of the most significant and gigantic football clubs in Britain and Europe. And it would be almost embarrassing for fan channels to not talk about this, in my humble opinion. So look, we're here, we're talking about it, we're delving into it in more detail. I want to gain your views and your opinions. And actually, as someone points out here, infighting is very poor. Hicks and Gillette 2.0. And that's exactly it. That is exactly it. Let's go to some more. So what I saw was interesting was this breakdown that got put out by a big Chelsea channel I follow. And they simply state this. And when I've read through the articles, and everybody might have a slightly different interpretation, but what I've read is Eghbali's approach for Chelsea is all about signing youth players with potential and keeping the wage structure as low as possible. Whereas Boehly wants to go for superstars and give them big contracts and win now, like the LA Dodgers. Now, I think that's a very much an oversimplification. I still think, if I'm being honest with you, that Todd Boehly is still going to sign young players, and he's still going to try and keep the wages as low as possible where he can. But he's very open to signing an Osimhen and paying him correctly. Very open to signing a Harry Kane, or do you know what? Let's go to Arsenal and let's break the bank and take Odegaard or Bukayo Saka as an, what I still consider kind of the contemporary Chelsea. Let's go and break the bank and sign a star from a rival club. So that is, plus wants to build a new stadium and wants to start that plan. Where the other option is very much, let's buy them young, let's develop a team, we'll sell off the young players that don't make it. That's how we continue to grow the revenue. But we don't really want to act like Chelsea of old. When you listen to it when you listen to them in the most basic form, and there's a question that came through to me that says, Terry, who do you think is best for us? Listening to the basics of those two plans, Todd Boehly sounds better. Because I think if you get the mix, I don't think he just wants to do the Galacticos. If it turns out to be that, then I've misinterpreted it. But I think getting a mix of what Chelsea have now, coupled with buying some stars, building a new stadium, enhancing the football club, is the better option. And only reading the Financial Times and Bloomberg, Boehly wants to buy them out because he's annoyed that they're not pushing towards that new stadium harder and quicker. So that is why I would side with them. However, there is going to be arguments for both sides, to be balanced, to be dispassionate, and to be open-minded. Remember, it was the Todd Boehly's of this world, I believe, and this was through reading Chelsea accounts this morning for a couple of hours, who kind of sacked Tuchel and wanted the Graham Potter. So you'll be able to find mistakes that Todd Boehly has made. Equally, if you're in Eghbali's camp, this story came out today that on the day of the Mihajlo Mudryk hijack, Eghbali called the Shakhtar president and says, I'm here, and got the deal done as an example. And now some Chelsea fans, if they're being honest, are heavily frustrated by that deal, annoyed that happened. So I think you have to kind of look at these situations and think to yourself at times, what is best for us as a club? Both parties have definitely made mistakes. And it's very difficult from this perspective to know which is right. Both plans could work. But the one thing that is for sure is that Chelsea supporters, in my very, very humble opinion, should be pushing for a resolution on this situation as soon as possible. It's the uncertainty that will cause the issues more so than whichever direction that you go in. And I do understand that Chelsea have been through a lot of turmoil in the last 3 or 4 years. And maybe there is this kind of PTSD, this natural instinct, this knee-jerk reaction to defend your football club. And say, do you know what? I'm not going to have anyone drag us through the mud. I'm not going to have anyone laugh at us. I'm almost going to pretend that this is a nothing burger. This is normal. We expected this. My pushback against, and I replied to a few Chelsea fans in our comment section yesterday evening when I got home. I actually had pretty much a day off yesterday. But I pushed back and just simply said, when it comes to this, Chelsea fans expected this, where's the dialogue on this? Generally, go back to the private Discords, the private group chats, and show me the screenshots. I'm asking for proof here. Prove to me that Chelsea fans expected this exact thing to happen in this way. Because I think people are trying to turn this into a nothing burger, when I think it's maybe one of the most significant changes of the guard at Chelsea in recent times. Dinesh here says, morning, Terry. Did Chelsea have the same problem Matthew Harding, Ken Bates had back in the time? I'd have to go back and research that, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm not going to sit here and try and proclaim to understand Chelsea's history directly. I'm not too sure what happened between the two of them. I suppose you could probably Google it, as I could do now. If I was to write Harding and Ken Bates, Chelsea problems, I don't know what that will come up with. I'll have to go. I can't see anything. The Battle of Stamford Bridge, the first Bates blasting. Okay, so they did. This was up the 90s. There we go. I'd have to go back and read this. I was obviously 10 years old when this happened, so my memory on it isn't clear. But yes, I mean, it's very much the same thing. If they don't come to a resolution, that's where the problems could lie. Because yes, you've got a majority shareholder in Clearlake, but you've still got someone that owns 30. I think Simon Jones put this out. 38% is owned by Boehly, which is still a significant amount of say and power. And that's what Boehly owns himself. Clearlake are an organization. So as an individual, as an individual person, like Todd Boehly is the majority shareholder because Clearlake own the rest as opposed to other people. So yeah, look, it's a very, very, very interesting situation indeed. Who the hell leaked this BS? Well, I mean, it isn't BS. I keep seeing this, and I was talking to KJ about this yesterday, and I get that. I've noticed in recent times that people, over the last 8 years, the term fake news has kind of changed. The same as the word clickbait has changed in terms of people have sort of moved its meaning, and I'm not too sure if it's been moved in the right way. So fake news used to mean this story isn't true. Clickbait used to mean I'm going to show you how you can get a six-pack in 6 weeks, but you actually click on the video. Click on the video, or you click on the article, and there's nothing really in there that tells you how you're going to do it. It's just nonsense, right? Now what I've noticed is if people don't like the story, if the story triggers them, and people keep saying this is a nonsense story, it's coming from the Financial Times and Bloomberg. Matt Law, Ben Jacobs, Fabrizio. To say this is bullshit is your feelings. To say it's clickbait is feelings. Yesterday I got, how are you saying it's a civil war? Matt Law said it's turning into civil war. Simon Phillips has stated it's an untenable breakdown of relationship with two sides battling over what's best. That's almost the definition of a civil war. Civil wars typically break out when two fractions of a city, a country, an organization are pulling in different directions, and they're going to battle over who wins. So I do find it interesting that people say, why are we speaking about this bullshit? It isn't bullshit. It's highly significant and important within football. And I feel that in the modern day world now, people see a transfer story. Well, Terry, yesterday you said something different. No, I didn't. A different journalist had a different slant and a different view. We spoke about it. We gave our opinions. You're just triggered that you don't like the story. You're just annoyed that if this particular story comes true, you're angry. Whenever I put a positive story out about Manchester United, lies, bullshit, clickbait, nonsense. When it's a negative story, none of those comments appear. I love it. I do love this game. And I do believe that those words have become, it's almost like in the world of content creation, they've become the pejoratives that you throw at people to try and make them go silent. It's a way of trying to silence conversation, which I find very weird indeed. I really, really do. So any Chelsea fans that think this is nonsense, think this is bullshit, think that it's a nothing story, I think you've just got to get out of your feelings personally. You've just got to accept it. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. The new word is PR when they don't like news. Well, this is the thing. PR does exist. And where I look at PR would be, and I know this exists. So Man United have the breaking news, the Kobe Mainoo signing a new long-term deal. But he's signed the new deal 3 or 4 days ago. But we've got a really big game. We've got a really big game against Liverpool at the weekend. But we hold back the Mainoo news. Because if we win, we can double bubble that excitement by releasing the news. If we lose, we can put it out there as something to soften the blow. That is public relations. That is a way of helping to temper, control the emotions and the mood of your fan base, your followers, your customers, whatever industry you're in. Absolutely. But sometimes now it's not done in that way. Sometimes it's just news or it's a bit of fun, right? And, I hate the PR of my club. What do you mean? We've only won 7 out of 9 points so far this season, and there my players are doing a sort of FIFA gaming thing during the Euros. This is PR. I don't want to see this nonsense. Again, it is public relations, but it's just keeping you close to your club. I don't see the problem with it. And I think people just use it to throw mud all the time. I do agree. I've been told Boehly is going to bring in the Saudis to help him. Yeah, I've seen people hear that and they've got excited about that as well. Look, I want to get some views. I want to get some opinions on this. We're going to share the link in the live comment section below. Call in now. So if you guys if you guys want to phone in, if you want to have your say on this, feel free to do so. I really want to hear from some of you on this. I was questioning the source. But do you need to question the source when the Financial Times and Bloomberg are reporting it? Do you need to? I mean, why? But you've said it was BS. So this the thing, Tyler. When you say you're questioning the source, why are you saying who leaked this BS? You're saying who leaked the bullshit. The phrase bullshit means it's a lie, it's fake, it isn't real. So if you want to say who leaked this story, fair enough, but that's not what you said, my friend. Words matter. After spending 1.5 billion, proper Chelsea owners want entertainment. I don't know what you mean there, Luis Garcia. I don't know what you mean. Yes, because it came from Russia. What came from Russia? What part of this leak came from Russia? And if you know it came from Russia, why are you asking? Well, you're asking. Talk to me. Talk to me. Can we talk about United? No, not on this stream. We're not talking about Man United on the Chelsea stream whilst being on the Arsenal terrace. That's another one of my favorite comments from my detractors. Every time there's a bit of Arsenal content, why do we talk about Arsenal? But I never see those people in the comment sections or the live section of the Chelsea, the Man United, and the Liverpool content. Remember, it's all just about trying to silence people. And I've learned that over the years. Whenever you see it, and I mean this 90% of the time, let's just keep it to football content. Whenever you see one content creator slamming another, it's typically about trying to damage their channel or silence them, typically speaking. And, you know, we went through this for years on the terrace when people used to attack Lee Gunner. And I said it then and I'll say it again now. You don't have to like his football opinions. You don't have to like him as a person. Most of you don't know him as a person, so it's very weird you wouldn't. But either way, it's one of those things where the people attacking him weren't really attacking his footballing opinion. They were trying to silence him and stop him from having his say. And I think there are only a few handful of circumstances where somebody should be silenced. And that might be if they're literally making up lies that are damaging to somebody's life, as an example. But criticizing a manager, criticizing a football club is never a reason to try and shut somebody down and have them silenced. And I'm just someone that doesn't. I used to be involved in a lot of that. So I'm not going to sit here and proclaim to be innocent within it. But I've just walked away from it now. I just don't get involved in that kind of behavior of any sort. So when I get it to me in the comment section from people, it's like, I know what you're doing. You just want to silence me. You almost want to bully me into silence by, oh, if we can make Terry feel like he's a liar. I know what I'm saying and doing. Yes. And of course, the titles and the headlines of my videos, by the way, other YouTubers, you know, the people like Lee Gunner, who have, you know, been very important to the football terrace and its growth, taught me how to make my content better, you know, how to monetize better and everything else. YouTube themselves, the individuals in meetings and calls, have taught me how to retitle videos to optimize the algorithm. And that's what everybody's fighting against. Why we have that group chat, because the algorithm doesn't always push out your notifications depending on what other sectors of the internet are working well at that time. So as I say, I always sit there and just laugh at the people that are attacking me for what I do. Equally, like, I'm verified by YouTube. YouTube they do this thing every year. They review your channel to see if it stays verified, and they check to make sure that you're not doing things that are against their terms and conditions. One of them is lying to your audience. And yeah, that is there. Do you know what I mean? One day when I hit the next milestone, maybe, God willing, in 5, 6, 7 years, we hit the 1 million subscriber marker, I'll get another one of those plaques just up there. You know, they review your channel when you hit 100K, when you hit 1 million. They review it to make sure that you've got it organically and correctly. And if you get the plaque, that means YouTube done a deep dive. So yeah, I don't worry about the accusations because they're laughable in so many ways. Really, they really, really are. Anyway, let's move back. People, please, you like mocking Chelsea always. I will mock Chelsea at times. Of course I do. There is time to have fun. But let us not pretend here, my friend. I have praised multiple signings this summer. I have praised what Chelsea are trying to create in terms of having a club standard model that goes beyond that of any manager. Even on the show, I've looked at the potential directions your club could be going in and praised some of it and criticized others. Of course, when Chelsea do things wrong, I'll criticize it. At times as a rival, I will mock it. as I do every other club. But let us not sit here and pretend that when Chelsea do well, I do not praise it. Let us not pretend that when Chelsea do something that I just personally think is good, I praise it. But because what I'm not going to do is say that is great when I don't think it is. Equally, people say, oh, you praise Arsenal loads now. Go back 3 years plus ago and look what I was saying about Arsenal when they weren't good. All right? Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Absolutely. Big up yourself. I always say to people, if you really want to understand more of what I say, think, and feel, watch more of the content. Watch more of the content. What we have on the terrace, and I do love it. We have great fan bases. And what will happen a lot of the time is someone's a Chelsea fan and I watch the Chelsea content. They don't watch Man United and Arsenal content, Liverpool content on the terrace. They watch the Chelsea stuff. United fans do the same. Arsenal fans do the same. But then what will happen is you'll go, well, you're only really criticizing Chelsea. That's because you're only watching Chelsea content and you're watching it in a time where you're going through troubles. If you watch more content on the other channels, tune into my Spurs match reactions, which are typically the lowest viewed shows that we get. Tune into them as well. And you would see that I am the same energy for every club. So I would say it's more about yourselves tuning into more content than it is me changing my stance. That's what I think is important to do. I like that, CJ. I like that. Let's go to some more of your comments. By the way, I want to thank Anthony Fowler here, 11 months as a member of the Football Terrace. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you very, very much indeed. What did I think of England's performance yesterday? Look, I didn't watch most of it. I had some old friends of mine that invited me to. I'm not really into cars. I like cars to a certain degree, but there was like a car meet that they were at. So took the kids down because my son loves cars. Took the kids down, went down with the family, met some old friends, had some food, had a few drinks, watched the car meet, and then went home. So it was on in the place we were eating, and I did think it was ironic the two ex-Irish players scored the goals. There were some really good moments. There was some really good free-flowing football, but I wasn't watching intently, so it would be wrong of me to assess that game. But the highlights I watched looked good. The goal looked good. I felt like in the second half, the subs kind of took a little bit of the quality out of the team. There was a lot of players making their debut at international level. But yeah, overall, looked really good. Looked really, really good indeed. Thank you all for that. Let's have a look at some more of your comments here. Who do Chelsea fans want? Boehly, who has a sporting history, or Clearlake, who is purely an investment company? It's a great, great question. And viewers, I want you to spam that into the comment section now. Who do you want? Let us know right now. I'm actually going to timestamp that. Who do Chelsea fans want? So we can come back and see. 1 second. So we can come back and see. I like to timestamp these. Hazard here says none of them. I understand why some Chelsea fans would also say that. I do. But what's really interesting, and again, if I was a Chelsea fan, this is what I'd be pushing for. I'd be speaking to the Chelsea fans that have access. I'll be speaking to the Chelsea journalists and pushing. Find out how long these disagreements have been going on for. How long have they been infighting? How long have there been problems? And why? I think this information would give you it would almost give you an indication of, do you know what? It's been happening the whole time. No wonder we've been struggling. No wonder we haven't progressed. Then you can think about which plan you agree most with. And it may turn out that the lack of cohesion, direction, and performance and achievement in the last 2 and a bit years has been due to, and it could be the center of the club not agreeing. And I will say this now. They will brief the media that this will in no way impact the way the players play, the way the players perform, the way the players feel. I don't necessarily believe that. When there is instability at a football club, it 110% has a impact upon what goes on the football pitch. Every single poorly run or dysfunctional football club, and you are dysfunctional if your leadership are pulling in different directions, it's not a dig, it's just the facts, fail. Most well-run clubs with big budgets, where everybody pulls in the same direction, have some sort of success. Most sports are like that. If you take a sport that's struggling right now, say in England, pump loads of money into it, get great people to run it and coach it. You fast forward 4 to 8 years in the Olympics and you start winning gold medals. The history in sport is there. Let's have a look at some more of your comments here. Roman Sun, is that even a thing? When you compare Eghbali, Eghbali and Todd Boehly, looks like gold. But he also brought some iffy players at the start of his time and gave them crazy wages. But also feel Todd Boehly has learned a thing or two. But that's a really, really good point and a really good breakdown that people do learn, people do change, people do understand. Well, actually, those things, those methodologies in the beginning that I used, maybe we've got to adjust them and adapt them. And this is the thing about a rebuild, is that you make mistakes in it. Everybody does. And I talk a lot about having faith in Ineos, but a lot of that is because it sounds like everybody's pulling in the same direction, but they're going to make mistakes. One of them may have been keeping Ten Hag on. Some of the signings won't make it. I read somewhere, someone sent me an article recently that when they did like a thematic review of transfers at the major clubs over the last 15 years, it works out like 55% of the best run clubs, the most successful clubs, 55%, you would argue their signings were a success. And that means going on to play in the first team for a prolonged period of time and delivering. So that means that 45% of the time, which is almost half your signings, are not quite going to work out. But the important thing before we judge them as fans is to understand how typical that is. So if you have an owner that's, oh, you know what, in the last 2 years, like 70% we view as fans are hits. Well, that's above the norm. So therefore, ignore the 30% failures, unless those 30% failures are £300 million signings. Then it becomes an abnormality that you have to focus upon. But the problem is with a lot of football fans is there's a lack of critical thinking. There's a lack of research into their opinions, and it causes a pile-on sometimes for things that are normal. Big up to absolutely everyone. Big up Terry, Ten Hag in at the moment. Big up yourself, Star-Lord. And look at 39 months as a member. That's amazing. And I am ever, ever, ever so grateful to you. Chelsea's owners are just randomly clicking buttons. I don't think they are. See, this is the thing. I don't think they are. And my mind has, again, kind of changed in the last 24 to 48 hours. And I'm bookmarking that comment as well because I want people to be able to find this part of the stream. And the reason that I don't think they're randomly clicking buttons, you have two parties with different ideologies, different strategies, different approaches, different views, methodologies and strategies of how to get Chelsea back to the top. And it appears when you read all these articles that they've both been able to implement some of them. But of course it isn't going to work. It's like having two head chefs in a kitchen that want to operate differently, cooking cooking multiple dishes for the same table. But they're both doing I don't know, somebody's ordered steak, egg, and chips, right? Very basic, but there we go. But it's being cooked by two chefs and two teams, and they're coming out and looking and tasting different. The customers are going to complain. Even if they're both nice, they're probably going to complain. You need continuity. So I don't think they are randomly clicking buttons. I think this infighting has been going on a while, and I think that instability has led to a lack of consistency on the football pitch. I don't think it's random now. Now we know what we know. One party needs to go. It's quite a good bar, that, weren't it? Why do we fans not get a vote about who we want controlling our club? It's a really good question, Mish. I think I'm going to say this bluntly. It's going to upset people, but I don't care. It's because fans are weak. I put myself in that category. I'm not ring fencing myself from it. We're weak because even if we want a say and if we want to vote, 9 times out of 10, we will roll over, we'll buy the new shirt, we'll renew our season ticket, we'll subscribe to our club's TV channel, and we'll let them rub our bellies. That's why we don't have a say. Fans are still the most powerful people at football clubs because without us, it all falls down. Because without us, there is no money, and without any money, clubs can't operate. But far too often, we roll over and have our bellies tickled. We should have more of a say, but no fan base, and this isn't specific to Chelsea, no fan base truly, generally speaking, has the balls to stand up and be counted in England. They do it very well in Italy. They definitely do it on the continent. Over in England, we're very, very weak in that regard. We're very, very weak in that regard. Matt here, one of our members, says the strategy seen from Boehly in the first window would bankrupt the club in 5 years. Fans like to pretend we had a massive revenue still despite losing the loan army. I agree you can't operate like that every single year. That I agree with and I concur with completely. So I understand that there is reservations about operating under a Todd Boehly regime, because if Todd Boehly's here and if Todd Boehly operates in that way for 2 or 3 seasons running and it fails, there is the potential for huge bankruptcy. That is why, like I've said since the top of this video and since yesterday, what Chelsea fans must do, what Chelsea fans have to do, is push hard for more information. One thing that you could argue, I haven't done enough of this, and I hold my hands up. I don't ever sit here and I'm not trying to preach at people from a position of sort of like a pedestal that, oh, I've done it and you haven't. Or, I don't want to throw stones. I don't want to throw stones in the glass house. What have Man United fans done to understand the strategy to get the Glazers out completely? We should probably push for more of that information to understand it. So I think Chelsea fans, before they decide whose side they go on, because I do think the Chelsea fans siding, if Clearlake see that everybody wants Boehly, I think Clearlake will probably sell, and vice versa. But before you make a decision who you side with, I think we do this in politics now, don't we? I don't like, generally speaking, I don't like talking politics, but it's all about the person. I like the way he dresses and he talks and he behaves. It's always about the personality as opposed to, but what are their policies? They scrutinize the policies and how you're going to fix things. We had it in this country where the Conservatives were telling us, if you re-elect us, these are all the things we're going to do. You're already in power. We shouldn't need to elect you to do that. You're already in power. It's the policies we should be challenging, right? So Chelsea fans should be saying, look, to their journalists and their media, bombard them every day. Don't abuse them, but bombard them. We want these questions asked. We want to understand this. The big Chelsea fan channels, reach out to the club consistently for interviews. Say, look, we want to sit down. Ask for it. You might get it. I want to sit down with Todd Boehly. I want him to list his strategies. I want him to tell us how he's going to do things. Not in so much specificity that rivals understand, but so a point where you can go, okay, I'm siding with you, but we're going to hold you to this. That is what I think has to happen, in my personal opinion. I really do. Maybe I'm wrong, but let me know in the comment section below. By the way, people, let's get the like button smashed. Let's get that done. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please get that done. I know a lot of you watch it on your TV screens. Around 60-something% I read the other day. Watch it on TV. So pick up your remote right now and get the like button smashed. Get it done, people. Get it done right now. Correct, Terry. Policy over personality. Yeah, to a certain degree. I do get there are certain people with certain characteristics that you don't want. But at the same time, I think the proof's always in the pudding and within the policies. It really is. It really, really is. Let's have a little look here. Terry, do you think Eric Ten Hag... We're not going to talk United on here on today's show. We want to keep it to Chelsea as best we can, but we'll be talking about that on other shows today, my friend. But thank you, Jim, for the comment. I appreciate it. Somali Flame here, big up yourself, says the reason I want Clearlake to stay is that they view Chelsea as a long-term project. Yes, they are a private equity firm, but they are in this for the long term. That's why the long contracts. And that's a really interesting one. So what I suggest you do, and this isn't to say you're wrong for your opinion. I respect it. I understand it. I'm going to put something up on the screen for you right now that we showed earlier. Not that one. Here it is. So this has come from Matt Law. And Matt Law has stated that investors are said to be ready to back Boehly, who is believed to have a 20 to 30 year vision for Chelsea, which includes the new stadium. And if we go back to what I was saying a few moments ago, Somali fan, we'll put your comment back up now, my friend. If we go back to what you were saying, I was saying a few moments ago, it is absolutely important that Chelsea get the information out from their journalists, from their fan channels, from their fan, the fan groups that have access to the club. It's absolutely imperative you understand the long-term vision of both and you scrutinize it. So don't just take a side, scrutinize, challenge, be skeptical. Typically in life, and I learned this as a younger man when I used to work at Barclays. I moved into this team and it's full of all these old heads. I was about 22, and I was the youngest person by at least 15 to 20 years. And a lot of these guys were old school, been in the bank 30, 40 years. And they were really cynical of every kind of new initiative, target, product the bank brought out. And initially I used to sit there and think, oh, these old, whinging old men shouting at clouds, get on with it, get your job done. As I've got older and you experience the good, the bad, the ugly of the world and an industry, I realized their skepticism was born out of a deep lying respect and love for the organization that they'd been at a long time. And in fact, if they saw a product as a little bit dodgy, that maybe in 5 to 10 years could lead to problems in the media, customers complaining, huge fines and reputational loss, that was why they were being skeptical. And it turned out with hindsight, they were absolutely correct every single time they were skeptical. So sometimes in life, when you love something, you have to challenge it. You have to be tough. You have to be cynical, skeptical, push for more information to ensure that you are genuinely getting what you are being sold. And I think that you should do that for all sides, the ones you dislike and the ones you don't like. And again, I'll bring it back to politics. And I never talk about my own politics because I find them to be private, but I'll give you a methodology of mine. Whatever area I live in, when I was in the East End or where I am now in Surrey, I will go to the meetings of the majority of the parties that are running for election where I live. I don't agree with a lot of their takes, but I will go to listen. Sometimes I'll even challenge. I listen to other people's challenges so I can actually make my mind up. I don't go in with any preconceived ideas of, well, I grew up supporting this, so therefore I'm only voting this. I listen to what they're going to say, and I look for the people that are going to best run that area, that are going to do the best for the schools, the best for security, the best for X, Y, and Z jobs. Typically, I always end up voting for normally the same party because they normally give me the best answers. But the point is, I do the methodology. That should now translate into the way your football team operates. Genuinely believe this. And I think it's the right way to go, in my humble opinion. The reason I want Clearlake to... Oh, sorry, I already just put that one up a minute ago. Sorry, I had that one starred. We have a super chat here that says, if only we could fuse the two like Dragon Ball Z. But then you might find you can. This is why the challenge comes in. Maybe you can convince Clearlake or Todd Boehly to take some ideas from the other. Again, I don't want to keep going back to politics, but don't it sometimes annoy you that you'll see one initiative that comes from Greenpeace where you're like, I like that. Then you see something from Labour and you're like, oh, that one's really good. The Conservatives will sometimes have policies where you go, well, do you know what? That's really good for business, or that's really good for this, or that's really good for... But it's like, why can't there be a party that just puts all these good policies together and says we're going to run on all these good policies? And you could almost create this by running polls on which policies for each party you like. And then if you're smart, go, right, well, everybody likes that policy from every party. Everybody that supports like these have all got universal support from every party. Let's run on those because everybody wants them. Maybe I'm just being dumb. Maybe I'm being stupid. But I think we've got to a degree sometimes drop the tribalism and look for what's right. And I guarantee you could convince some of these owners to change some of their stances slightly to give you more of what you want. Long contracts are silly. If players turn good, they will become frustrated at not being able to get a pay rise. If they flop, you're stuck with them. There's no documentation anywhere that the players, if they turn out good, won't get pay rises. So I think that's just a pie in the sky challenge that I don't necessarily think holds water because there's no evidence to it. There's a positive side to it though. If they do well and then big clubs come a hunting, they've still got 5 years left on their deal. They can't run their contracts down. So there's positives to it as well. And I think it's important when looking at these circumstances to review the positives too. No, I certainly did not vote reform. I did not in any capacity, the same as I voted for Remain as well. And I'll give you my reasons for that, for Remain. I listened to both sides of the argument, and my view was it was better the devil I know than the devil I don't. That was kind of my sort of mantra to it. And I really wish that it had remained. But there we go. Equally, though, I'm not angry at everybody that votes differently because I just don't behave in that way. I just find that to be scummy behavior. But no, I certainly did not vote reform. Although I listened to what they had to say, because how can you challenge something that you do not listen to? So let's take it down to Chelsea now. Imagine you're completely against Todd Boehly. Imagine not reading the article supporting him. Imagine not listening to what he says. How can you not support something that you do not have a clear understanding of? That for me is not the way a sensible person should behave. Chelsea fans, which manager do you think can unify everyone as one, as FFG did with Sir Kenny Dalglish, gave them time, no more about the club? Which manager do you think can unite everyone? It's a great question. Chelsea fans, answer that question for us now in the comment section. We'll put it up. Which manager do you think could come into Chelsea and unify everything? My view is you can't unify anything until the board's unified. So Kenny Dalglish did a good job at Liverpool, but the board were unified. So I don't think it's about a manager or a head coach. I think it's about the board personally. But viewers, I'd love to get your views and I'd love to get your opinions on that in the comment section below, please, people. Let us know. Clearlake, in my opinion, want young talent. They increase in value, improve their assets, and just need Chelsea to have high value by 2032 when they can sell Chelsea. Yeah, and if that's their plan to sell it in 2032 at a profit, I would say that I wouldn't back it personally. Unless Todd Boehly's ideas are so extreme that it could bankrupt the club, right? So that's what you've got to look at here. You can't just say no to it. Let's have a little look here. People asking for the link. I'm going to share the link again if people want to call in now. We've got about 15 minutes left on the show to get that done. Someone says Terry and Terry. There we go. I don't know what that means. Okay, Tuchel and Nagelsmann could unify it. Potter could unify it. Nagelsmann will run the club with attack. Ted Lasso. I like that. I like it. I do like that. It's actually quite funny. Terry, what do American investments groups know about football? But it isn't about what they know about football. It's about who they employ to run it. So let's just say I came into some money. One of my dreams in life is to actually own a restaurant. I'd love to own a restaurant. But I have no idea how to run one. But if I had the money to buy one and the capital to hire a top-class head chef and a brilliant manager, it could become successful. I understand the premise of how to run a business, but the intricacies and the know-hows of the hospitality and restaurant industry, I don't. But you hire the right people. That's it. Elon Musk is very successful. Do you think Elon Musk knows how to do everything to build a spaceship? Do you think Elon Musk knows how to do everything to build an electric car? I don't think he does. He's clearly an extremely intelligent and successful man, but he doesn't know all the intricacies of the elements. You know, people ask me why my Wi-Fi is up and down, because where I live, there's no fiber optics. I had to take it out, so there's no fiber here. So I have to use Starlink. It's the only internet I can get here. It works very well for downloading, a bit sketchy with upload and streaming. Do I think Elon Musk physically built the satellites? No. So, yeah, that's my answer to that. Big up Jen, absolute legend of the football terrace. Hope you're well, brother. He says, people I would prefer Clearlake due to the level of investment. Plus, they want to spend better and bring in a better manager. However, Poch was a Clearlake manager, and look how well that turned out. And I love this here from Jem. Jem is being he's got a side, but understand that, and this is where we go. Again, we're going to go back to a political take. You get this with all political parties. They try nowadays on TV, they try and make out like their party has never done anything wrong. All their people are saints, and we're the good guys. Both sides do it. And it's embarrassing because both sides have made mistakes. Both sides had bad people that are part of their parties. Admit it. The same was with this Clearlake and Todd Boehly act. You could find bad parts about both. Challenges against both. But you got to side with someone. But it doesn't mean you can't challenge. In fact, I would challenge my own side harder because you want them to be a success, and challenge is key. So I understand that, Jem. Really good words there, my friend. Thank you. Let's have a look at some more of these comments here. This here says they give people long-term contracts. For example, if someone comes in for Palmer, they can sell for a massive fee. That's what Eghbali seeing on every player, because for him, players are assets that can be sold. Well, that would be the kind of worry I would have if what you're saying, bro, is true. So What I'm about to say is based on your comment. So when people clip this up later and they put it out and say, oh, Terry thinks they're going to do this, I'm basing it, if this logic is true, that would worry me about Clearlake coming in. Because imagine in 2 years' time, Man United bid £120 million for Palmer, and Eghbali says yes, because we're making a mass profit and we're here to make profit. That would be a worry. But I don't necessarily believe that Clearlake are just here to make a profit through the sale of players. I think they want to grow the value of the club, which means you actually need success. You're not going to grow the value of the club just by buying cheap and selling high the players. You need to win major trophies. You're not going to get that by selling your best players on a regular basis, in my humble opinion. You need to read How to Not Get Sacked by Elon Musk to Survive in the Real World. Is that a book, is it? I didn't know there was one. And as Jem here says, they have both made mistakes for sure. Exactly. And that's why I think when it comes to who you side with, I think you've got to be open-minded about this. And that's just my humble opinion. Let's have a look here. Tom has come in with a super chat and says, feel for Chelsea fans. They had a clear model and had brought them success. And the new group has took a total 180. Hard to turn an ocean liner around. I love this, Tom. And I will say this now. I understand the love and the admiration for the Roman era. I do. However, I'm going to challenge you slightly. The decline of Chelsea started under Roman's tenure. Yes, they won a Champions League, and that was amazing. But you still see there is Israel Adesanya. To me personally, looks like he's on his way down. But depending upon who he fights, he could still win a world title in his decline, because he was at such a high level. So him dropping by 20 or 30% still puts him on a level with a number of world champions, past and present. But the decline is still clear to see. And I get it. At his age, the amount of fights he's had, he's a GOAT of the industry. And I'm not trying to attack him. He's one of my favorite fighters ever. Love Israel. Absolutely love Israel Adesanya so much. And from my point of view, I look at it from this perspective of Chelsea was still declining because they'd kind of stopped challenging for league titles. They weren't as formidable and powerful and as brilliant as they were, but they were still a very, very, very good team. And this is because Roman's model that worked so well in the first 10 years when there was no FFP was great. It was, we'll buy the best players available and the best manager in the world. And when there was no FFP, and before City got their money and clubs caught up financially, the new TV deal money came in, they could outspend everybody, and they did. As soon as the new TV deal money came in and FFP and PSR became an issue, Chelsea's ability to spend Roman's money decreased massively, which leveled the playing field. So what you needed, yes, go out and buy the best players and get the best manager, but there had to be a more cohesive club philosophy about how you're going to play, how are we going to build these squads so we don't have to always go out and buy the best players available and we can buy and develop individuals. There had to be a change, and they didn't do that quick enough, which is why you saw the level of success in the second half of Roman's era slowly start to dissipate, even though they were still a brilliant team. I understand completely that things have got worse under this new ownership because they haven't got it right yet. But we now know why they haven't got it right, because they've been pulling in different directions. There's been this infighting. I feel, and this is where I defend Roman, it's about merging those two things together. It's about still trying to buy the best available, but also having a long-term plan and being sustainable under the new rules and regulations of football. It's a combination of those two things, in my humble opinion. There we go. Clearlake have already admitted their primary focus isn't football. Where is that? Where have they said that? Could you? And this isn't, I'm not challenging you to say you're wrong. I'd love you to send me a link, DM me a link or an article so I can have a read. Business is their primary. Was in their first. Oh, was it in their first interview? Yeah, please send that through to me, my friend. I'd love to read that, bro. I really would. And have a little listen and look. I also think Clearlake are upset with how the 1 billion has been spent, which includes decisions by Boehly. Issue is if Clearlake leave financially, we could have an issue as Boehly is relying on youth to pay off. Yeah, I wouldn't think you'd worry financially because if he raises that 2.5 billion, that's going to come from people that have money. He's obviously going to raise that from a consortium. So I think that, I don't think you'd have financial issues. And what you've got to remember is owners can't pump in more than £100 million every 3 years of their own money anyway towards a club. So if you get what I mean, it's he's rich enough, and he isn't going to be putting his own money into it. It's going to be investors, I would assume. Let's have a little look here. People tend to forget Todd Boehly has a history of running successful sporting franchises. Todd has not been able to make a proper decision towards his vision because he is... But that isn't true. I don't think it's true that he hasn't been able to make a decision. If you read all the articles today, you read all the fan... And listen, everyone has a different view and everybody has a difference of opinion. But I think if you're objective about this, it would be wrong to say that Todd Boehly hasn't been able at any single point to make a decision. He has definitely been able to make decisions since he has been at Chelsea. I think that it would be almost a lie to say that he hasn't been able to do that, my friend. Let's have a look at some more of your comments here. I ain't upset for Chelsea. They were the original Man City that brought success. This is karma. Let them rot. That's the Man United fan. Fran some shade there. Poch got us European football because he didn't listen to the clowns upstairs. That's what got him the sack. Had he listened to them, we would be sitting mid-table, if not near relegation, is what CFC Daniel says. So from your point of view, Daniel, I'd love to ask you this question. Which of the two camps, because you're not going to get completely new owners, it's going to be one or the other if that they come to a resolution. Which of the two would you prefer, my friend? I would love to understand that. Let me know in the comments section below. Boehly's decision was to bring in Sterling and sack Tuchel. Exactly. Yeah, I've read again. I remember that, but I was reading that today. What I do love, and we're seeing comments coming in as well saying that everything on here is a false narrative. Well, look, I'm just talking about what's in the media. You're going to have your own views and your own opinions, people. Get out there and say them. But cite some sources on this, please. Cite some sources on this. Chelsea are still in trouble with the Premier League because Roman cooking the books. Newcastle are in trouble too. City are being dealt with at the moment. All clubs cooking the books are in for punishment. I've not read anything about Newcastle being in trouble. And look, with Chelsea, look, they've self-reported these allegations that are against them to the Premier League. The investigation's nearly done. And late night. I think Chelsea may end up with a fine. Maybe a minuscule points deduction. The fact they grass themselves up, I think is very, very, very important when it comes to thinking what is going to happen. Facts, Eghbali was referencing Brighton as he dreamt a model in regards to wages, etc. Only problem is Brighton win F all. If he had the audacity to say Brighton win nearly as much as us. Did he say that? Oh, wow. That's crazy. Cash says, Terry is a sheep reporting the narrative. What narrative have I reported? What narrative I report? Come on, Akash. Let's have this out now. What narrative did I report? I've reported the stories as they are in the media. Given my opinion on them. And if viewers have a different view and opinion, I've put the link out. Phone in, have your say. Don't just write it's false narrative. Don't just jump on your own channel and say it's all nonsense. Sit here and have a conversation. Be challenged. Do people have the guts to do that? I don't know. I put the link out. No one called. You didn't call in. That's on you, not me. If it's wrong, again, it isn't my narrative. It's what the media is saying. If you know something I don't, come tell us. I'm open-minded. I'm dispassionate about it. Let me know. Fair point, Terry. I just remember Chelsea fans being satisfied with their club not being at the very top because of occasional big trophies, perhaps papering over cracks. Yeah, that's the sort of phrase that's used, papering over cracks. But I think a part of that is challenging for your league title on a regular basis, I think is the barometer to show where you really are as a club. And then generally, if you're able to challenge for that, you will win other trophies as well. Winning the occasional trophy because of a good cup run is brilliant. You don't want to give those trophies up. But it isn't the sustainable performance levels that you want as a football club, in my humble opinion. Chat with Johnny Minerals. What about Johnny Minerals? I don't know what that means. Listen, everybody that has tuned in, I want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you. Back later today with more content. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you again soon. Peace.